Can't believe this is the UK, as left groups begin more protests. The sun dipped low over Buckingham Palace, casting long shadows that danced across the cobblestones. It was a picturesque evening in London, but beneath the surface, tension simmered. Leftist groups had begun to mobilize, their banners unfurling across the city, demanding justice and change in a nation that felt increasingly divided. What was behind this sudden surge of protests, and how would it impact the royal family? As dusk settled, whispers of unrest filled the air. Social media buzzed with videos of crowds gathering, young faces painted with fervor, old voices echoing their discontent. The hashtags #ChangeForIC and #RoyalResponsibility trended, igniting a firestorm of debate. But why now? What had triggered this wave of activism? The protests began in response to a controversial new policy that many felt overlooked the needs of the most vulnerable. A leaked report suggested that the royal family had been aware of the impending changes but chose to remain silent. The public was shocked. Was the monarchy, long seen as a symbol of stability, now perceived as complicit in a system that failed its people? In the heart of the protests, a young activist named Maya stood out. Her impassioned speeches captivated the crowd, reflecting both the anger and hope of a generation. "We demand a voice," she cried, her voice echoing against the historic walls of Westminster. But as Maya rose to prominence, shadows from her past began to loom. Who was she really, and what personal stakes did she have in this fight? As the protests gained momentum, the royal family faced mounting pressure. Inside the palace, discussions turned heated. Prince Edward, known for his progressive views, urged his family to address the issues head-on. "We can't ignore this," he insisted. "People are suffering, and we have a duty to listen." But others, like the Duchess of Cambridge, worried about the implications of getting involved in political matters. Tension hung thick in the air as the family wrestled with their roles. Would they risk their traditional image for the sake of modern relevance? Or would they remain silent, perpetuating the divide? As the debate raged on, a shocking revelation emerged: a member of the royal staff had leaked sensitive information to the protesters. Who could it be, and what motivated them to betray the family's trust? Meanwhile, Maya was gaining traction not just as an activist but as a symbol of hope. Her story unfolded in the press, revealing her family's struggles during economic downturns, her father's fight against injustice, and her mother's dedication to community service. Viewers were drawn in, feeling a deep connection to her plight. But just as her influence peaked, a scandal erupted. An old photograph surfaced, depicting her at a controversial rally years prior. Did this tarnish her message, or could she turn it into a narrative of growth and resilience? As the protests escalated, the royal family decided to make a public statement. Their carefully crafted message aimed to bridge the gap between tradition and modernity, emphasizing their commitment to the people. But as the family prepared for the press conference, secrets began to unravel. Edward received an anonymous tip-off: a plot was brewing among dissenters to disrupt the event. Would the protesters turn violent, and how would the monarchy respond? The day of the press conference arrived, tension palpable as thousands gathered outside the palace gates. The royal family stepped onto the balcony, their expressions a mix of resolve and anxiety. Maya stood among the crowd, her heart racing. Would this be the moment of reckoning, where both sides could finally meet in understanding? As the speech commenced, the atmosphere shifted. Cheers erupted, but so did shouts of dissent. Suddenly, chaos ensued. Counter-protesters clashed with supporters, leading to a frenzy of emotions. In the midst of the turmoil, Maya spotted a familiar face in the crowd, someone from her past who had once betrayed her. What was their role in this chaos? Was it a personal vendetta, or were they simply caught up in the frenzy of the moment? Just as tensions threatened to boil over, the royal family took an unexpected step. They paused their speech, inviting Maya to join them on the balcony. "Let's talk," Edward Said, his voice firm yet inviting. The crowd fell silent, curiosity piqued. Would this be a moment of reconciliation or further division? As Maya stepped forward, the weight of the moment hung thick in the air. The world watched, breathless, as two worlds collided, the monarchy and a new generation of activists. What would happen next? Could this unexpected alliance pave the way for change in the UK, or would it lead to deeper divides? As the camera zoomed in, viewers were left on the edge of their seats, eager to know what would unfold next in this riveting saga. The royal family stood at a crossroads, and the nation was watching. What path would they choose, and how would it reshape the future of the monarchy? Stay tuned, this story is far from over.